It's my DVD and Blu-ray update for September 2024. Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to my DVD and Blu-ray update for September 2024. I know this isn't going up until about a week into October, but I'm recording this on the 29th of September, and this is basically what I have watched in September. Without any more ado, let's crack on. So quite a few of these are still DVDs and Blu-rays, possibly, that were given to me by my good friend Craig Huntley. Stuff he bought to watch and then wanted to get rid of, and he offered them to me, and I said yep, I'll give them a go. First up is one of those. This is Major League. This is Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Corbin Benson, Wesley Snipes in a very well made, entertaining but stereotypical baseball film. So a young-ish, attractive woman marries an older, rich baseball team owner. He dies, she inherits the club. She wants to move elsewhere to get more money. Move the club elsewhere. You know how in America teams sort of move to different cities and the franchises stay the same. So she wants to move them to Miami. I can't remember where they're actually based. Cleveland. So her idea is she employs a manager to get a team together that has got no chance of winning so that they can move. And it's, as you can imagine, this team is compiled and they start winning, etc. It's, as I say, it's an entertaining film, well acted, well made. I enjoyed it quite a lot. So, I've mentioned before, but Craig used to do reviews for a couple of websites and magazines and what have you, and he would get sent review copies of films, and this is the Arrow Blu-ray. This is the Arrow Blu-ray, even, of Last House on the Left, the original version. So it was a video nasty over here. I don't really see why it's not that graphic, whether it's just because it involves rape, which is obviously understandable. That's the only reason I could sort of see why it was banned. But basically, a group of escaped convicts kidnap two young girls, do nasty things to them. And then it becomes a bit of a revenge story. It's okay, it's very cheaply made. The acting isn't wonderful, but it's fine, it's not terrible. I was going to say I enjoyed it, but that's probably not the right word given the tone of it. But it was an interesting watch that I was pleased to have seen. There's various cuts on there. I just watched whatever the main cut was on disc 1. This is Knockaround, guys. So we've got Barry Pepper, Vin Diesel, Seth Green, Dennis Hopper, John Malkovich. So this is a mob drama, bit comedy, but mainly drama. Barry Pepper is the son of a guy played by Dennis Hopper who's fairly high up in the local mafia, trying to establish himself in it, but he hasn't really got the heart for it. He's too much of a nice guy. A money transfer goes wrong. He tries to rectify it. It doesn't quite work. And that's basically the plot. It was entertaining, watchable, good cast, so, well acted. Nothing majorly exciting, but definitely, if you've got 90 odd minutes to kill, or is it? Yeah, 88 minutes. and there's nothing else available, or you come across it on a streaming service or something, it's definitely worth a watch. This is The Insider. So this is Michael Mann's film starring Al Pacino and Russell Crowe. This is about... It's based on a true story. This is about a guy who used to work in the tobacco industry, played by Russell Crowe, who is unceremoniously let go from his job and decides that he wants to sort of sell the secrets of the industry. Well, not sell the secrets, but reveal the secrets of the industry. Al Pacino is a news producer who wants the story, and it's basically this, how that affects their lives and what have you. It was, because of the cast and the director, it was a good watch and a well-made film. I felt really... So basically the big reveal was that the tobacco industries knew that tobacco was bad for you, which today, you know, feels like duh, but maybe at the time, not the time of the film, but the time of that revelation was a big revelation. But it just felt like, I'm not entirely sure what year it was set, but it was fairly recent, and it felt like it was sort of too recent for that to be big news and worth all the hassle and intimidation and, you know, drama of the situation. So it sort of lost me a bit there. I couldn't really get too invested in the story because of how sort of obvious and futile what he was trying to reveal was. But as I say, it was so well made that it held my interest enough for that. Yeah, not sure about that. This is Tony Scott's The Hunger. So I watched this years and years and years ago. But I was glad to revisit it. David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve are two vampires. She's a really old vampire. Bowie is somebody she sired a few hundred years ago. Part of the curse is that although they stay young by feeding on blood, her progeny do still slowly age. Well, I say slowly age. It takes a very long time, and then they age quickly and deteriorate. So within a few days, he goes from looking like David Bowie in 1980, whatever it was, 1, 2. So that would make him 40, late 30s, early 30s. When was Bowie born? I can't remember when Bowie was born. What was he, teens in the 1960s? So yeah, early 30s, early to mid 30s. To decrepit old man in a matter of days, even hours. Makeup's very good on that, actually. And then she moves on to Susan Sarandon, who's a scientist working on trying to prolong life, basically, and prevent aging. It's not a huge plotty film. It's more style over substance, as you'd probably expect from Tony Scott, but it's very well acted, very well made, very stylish. Perfectly enjoyable, watchable film. But I can see now why I was never in a rush to actually buy it. It's not one, you know, I will probably watch it again in a number of years. What I had forgotten, this is a bit of a spoiler, but I've already sort of spoiled it anyway, is that Bowie wasn't in it that long, really. This is The Howling 3. So Craig had already given me The Howling, which I watched a few months back, and I talked about on my channel, which was good, but didn't wow me. This is terrible. So the subtitle of this, although it's not on any of the packaging here, is something to do with marsupials. I can't remember exactly. I'll put it on the screen. Probably, if I remember to. If not, Google it. But yeah, this is set in Australia, and it's about so the original Howling was about a werewolf. These are sort of were-kangaroos, and it's, apart from Barry Humphries cropping up as Dame Edna Everage but not credited as Dame Edna Everage. I think it's just credited as awards presenter or something like that, right at the very end. There's nobody really of any note in the cast. The main girl's attractive, but she's not a great actress. The acting at times is very poor. The direction isn't great. The effects aren't wonderful. Yeah, it's not a good film, really. So we've got Highlander 2. This is the Renegade version. So Highlander, one of my favourite films ever. I've owned it on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. When I upgrade to 4K, I'm sure I'll get it on 4K. It's just one of those films I want in the best quality I can view. I saw Highlander 2 The Quickening many, many, many years ago, just shortly after it came out. I think my dad had it on VHS. I hated it, the way it just pisses all over the first film and totally rewrites this backstory. Really didn't like it. Can't remember if I ever saw Highlander 3. I have a vague memory of Highlander 4, which we'll get to, and sort of left it at that. Never watched a TV series or anything like that. Craig gave me Highlander 2, 4 and 5. Not Highlander 3. I did look to see if I could find Highlander 3 on Netflix or Amazon, but they weren't available to watch, so I was going to watch that in sequence. Similarly, Howling 2, I was going to watch before Howling 3, but that wasn't available anywhere either. But as it was, it didn't matter with that, and it didn't really matter with these. Anyway, so this is the Renegade version of Highlander 2. So this is the re-edited director's cut by Russell Mulcahy. It drops a lot of the more controversial elements of Highlander 2 The Quickening, changes what The Quickening is. It eliminates talk of them being an alien race. So it's a lot more faithful to this backstory, but still not quite right. Well made, well acted. Sean Connery steals every scene he's in. Michael Ironside is as wonderful as he always is. Sort of the biggest grumble I had with it was how quickly MacLeod and Virginia Madsen's character went from having just met to having sex by a bin. That was just all far too quick, especially since when they'd met, he was an old man, and then she'd seen him reverse age, having killed a couple of immortals, and the quickening's gone into him. And that was enough for her to drop her pants. But yeah, overall, not as bad as The Quickening, the original version of Highlander 2, but still nowhere near as good as the first film. This is Doctor Who The Collection Season 14. So this is Tom Baker's third season, I think. Third or fourth. As for Doctor, this is the end of Sarah Jane's time and going into Leela. As always with these sets, wonderful sets, look great, sound great, loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of extras. Some good stories on this. This is a good season. The Mask of Mandragora is a historical one with a sci-fi twist. That's good. It's not great, but it's good. The Hand of Fear, which is Sarah Jane's last story, is, again, as sort of, Earth-based, is, again, good, not great. The Deadly Assassin, which has no companion and is sort of a Gallifreyan Mancunian candidate, is very strong. Face of Evil, which introduces Leela, again, good, not great, but very good. Robots of Death, which is almost a sci-fi Agatha Christie. Not quite. They do that a bit better a bit later on. But that's very good. And then The Talons of Weng Chiang is one of the best series of Doctor Who, or stories of Doctor Who ever. Yeah, very good. Got The Crying Game. So far, all the DVDs and Blu, apart from Doctor Who, these have all been via Craig. In fact, everything here is bar 2 more, which are the 2 TV ones. So I saw The Crying Game many years ago, shortly after it came out. I think I rented it on VHS, see what all the fuss was about. I remember thinking it was okay, but not really understanding why it was so vaulted. Vaulted? Do I mean vaulted? Praised, anyway. So I've never sort of sought it out since. Watched this version, and it all fell into place for me. It's an absolutely wonderful film, really well made, really well acted. I don't want to say too much, because obviously it's known for having a big twist, although I imagine most people know what that twist is. There's IRA kidnap a British soldier and kill him. One of them, played by Stephen Rea, goes into hiding in London and seeks out the girlfriend of the British soldier, having spoken to him, and just sort of fulfill his last promise to him that he'd look her up and say hello to her and look after her. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, but yeah, having rewatched it, I really, really enjoyed it and appreciated it a hell of a lot more. This is The Fan. So this is another baseball film. So Robert De Niro is a huge New York Mets, Giants, Raiders. No, Raiders is American football. Giants, wasn't it? I think it's New York Giants. Fan who is also a big fan of Wesley Snipes' character, Bobby Rayburn, who's, you know, a majorly talented baseball player, but he's also highly superstitious. And he joins the Giants and just huge fuss, but then he hits a run of bad form. But it's basically about fan culture and stalkers, and De Niro's character gets a bit unhinged and does some silly things, basically, without, you know, spoiling it too much. With that cast, it can't help but be good. Yeah, held my attention throughout. Enjoyed. I'm not a big De Niro lover. You know, I sort of understand why he's considered such a great, but he does seem to be reliant on sort of tics, and it's, to an extent, the same with Pacino, really. Rather than he often feels like he's just a version of himself in films. This probably is controversial, but I never really feel him. I can always see De Niro in the character rather than the character taking him over completely, if that makes sense. Which isn't always a bad thing, but it's, to be fair, I haven't watched like Taxi Driver. I haven't I haven't seen the Godfather films. I've seen part 3, and that put me off watching the first 2. I will watch the Godfather films at some point. So I'm not basing it on many appearances, to be fair. But what I've seen him in all tend to be his later works, and I can always see De Niro behind the character. So I'm probably thinking about it being a bit harsh. Same with Pacino. I've seen a bit more Pacino. I've seen really early Robert De Niro, sort of his Brian De Palma work pre-fame. But the sort of the golden years of De Niro I've not seen much of. So I'll probably take that back, actually, thinking about it. Pacino, again, I've not seen a huge amount. But I can always see Pacino behind the character. Anyway, enough of that before I dig myself deeper. So this is Highlander Endgame. So this is the 4th Highlander film. This is where the TV Highlander, Duncan MacLeod, teams up with Christophe Lambert's Conor MacLeod for some of the film, and then sort of takes over the franchise. It's okay, it's enjoyable, it's a bit messy, but it's perfectly watchable. It's open, darling. It's got a good villain, which it always helps on these films, played by, his name's gone, Bruce Payne. Lisa Barbashir's in it, and she's always worth watching. I think that's how you say her name, but Lisa B, as she used to be known anyway. Yeah, it was fine. Not, again, not a patch on the original, but it was fine. This is Boiler Room. So this, although, Ben Affleck is hugely touted on the cover, he's only got a small role. He only appears in like 2 or 3 scenes, even though I think he was sort of in it as a favour to the director or something. But, what's his name? I can never remember his name. Giovanni Ribisi plays a young guy. His father's a judge, but he's not really rebelling against him, but he's sort of going his own way, and he sets up an illegal casino in his house. He's making loads of money from that, but his dad finds out about it and really isn't happy, because obviously it's against the law and he's a judge. An old friend comes along, played by Jamie Kennedy, and brings another guy, and they are stockbrokers working for a firm and making loads of money, but it's all, as we discover, done illegally, really. They're selling stocks that don't really exist. The BC's character joins the firm, and it's sort of narrated by him and telling the story of how he gets trained up, etc. And then discovers what's going on and the story of what happens there. It's really well acted, it's really well made, it's a really good storyline. I enjoyed that a lot. So this wasn't from Craig, this was a Christmas present. This is series 4 of Mor and White House Go On Fishing. Just a wonderful show. This also includes a 2020 Christmas special. So it's 2 comedians, Paul Whitehouse and Bob Mortimer. I've talked about this on other ones, and most Brits will know what this is about. But they are recovering. I'm starting to make it sound like it's a drama. It's a story. This is just real life, what's happened. They both had a history of heart problems. After Bob had almost life-threatening problems that led to major surgery, Paul took him out fishing to relax and recover, and it's become a TV series of them travelling around the country, fishing for various fish on various rivers and out in the ocean and what have you, mainly rivers. And it's just the 2 of them bantering, being extremely funny. They touch upon medical issues and get guests in. But yeah, it's just a beautiful series, funny, beautiful shots of British countryside. I just love watching it. It's just so relaxing and enjoyable. And that's the 4th series of it. Last film for today. So this is back to Craig. This is Highlander the Source. So this is the 5th Highlander film. So this is Adrian Paul as the lead, as Duncan MacLeod. This wasn't very good. It was poorly made. It had some decent-ish actors in it, but I think they weren't directed well, so they didn't give great performances. The storyline was messy. The worst bit was definitely the direction. There was one scene, and it was just a guy walking into a boardroom, and there was like 15 cuts just of different angles of him walking into this boardroom, and it was just completely unnecessary. Yeah, wasn't good at all. It was better than Highlander 2, the quickening version, but otherwise, of the four, the original, as I say, is just wonderful. But of 2, 4 and 5 is far and away the worst. And I can see why there hasn't been another one since. And finally, this is the complete 10th season of Walking Dead. Not a great season, in my opinion. It's an interesting one in so much as they shot, I think it was 16 episodes, which was going to be the series. Then lockdown happened and they didn't have time to do the post-production. So when they eventually could do the post-production on it, they decided they'd film 6 extra episodes. The original 16 are just typical Walking Dead episodes, so it's the continuation and culmination of the Whisperers storyline, which is good, and there's some good episodes in there. But it's not peak Walking Dead by any means. And then a bit of after that plot. Then it's the 6 extra episodes, because they're sort of post-lockdown episodes. Most of them are sort of two-handers or thereabouts. So there's an episode there's 2 episodes concentrating on Daryl and why's her name just gone? Oh my god. Daryl and no, it's completely gone. Obviously on the screen. This is just silly, but Daryl and her is an episode based around... Oh, I'm terrible with character names. I really am. I mean, Daryl, and I should know because he's been in it since the beginning. But I really am bad with character names on these things. The vicar and the bloke with a metal arm. There's an episode based around Maggie. There's an episode based around this new character called Princess and Ezekiel, with a couple of guest appearances in that one from 2 other cast members. There's a Negan based episode, but they don't feel right because they're so limited in cast, and none of them really do much plot wise. The Negan one is sort of a flashback to how he became Negan that we know and love. It nearly came to me then. No, why can I not remember her name? Anyway, none of them were really that good, and they sort of ruined the end of the series and sort of brought it down for me. Sorry, it's just in the back of my mind. I'm trying to think of the character name and it's making me hesitate. Anyway, as I say, not the best series. So I just got series 11 to watch, and then that's all of Walking Dead watched. I don't think I've bought it yet. I know I think it's on my wish list. I've still got loads to get through, but if I don't get it for Christmas as a gift, I will buy it after that. Unless I have already bought it. Anyway, that's enough. I've been waffling for half an hour. Yeah, so that's what I've been watching this last month. I've just started. I've got a huge BBC Morecambe and Wise box set and a Thames box set. Because I watch things, although chronologically it's wrong, it doesn't really matter. So because I got the Thames one before I got the BBC one, I'm watching the Thames one now, even though those are shows from post BBC. But that's going to be most of the next few months, I think, because the BBC one is something like 23 discs and this Thames one is 6 discs, I think. But there'll be other TV series interspersed and films interspersed, so should still have plenty to show that I've watched in October. Anyway, it's been long enough. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.